Hi everyone, welcome back for another Cobra Kai Season 2 watch party. Today I want to talk about John Kreese, who is shaping up as one of the most loved villains since Darth Vader. Now a lot of this is from Martin Kove's wonderful fan-friendly personality and his spectacular performance. He exudes a strength and confidence you respect even when he's doing things you don't particularly like. Now, Kreese has been the series' bad guy through the movies, and Season 2 certainly ends with him in that role again. Now, the great work of this show has been its ability to flesh out the characters and provide some more relevant context. I covered these parts of Kreese in my Season 2 review. It really rounds out the character and provides some context to his actions, even if we don't always like them. Also, as I said in my review video, his fixation on war adds authenticity to his lessons. Except here I don't want to focus on his Vietnam past, but rather the positive influence he had on Johnny. And just as important, what happened when that influence was removed. Karate Kid has always had a strong theme of fatherhood. This series has only expanded that and showed a parallel between Daniel and Johnny with Mr. Miyagi and Kreese. However, as we know from the opening of the series, after the first Karate Kid, their lives took very divergent paths. Daniel went on to be successful in business and family, while Johnny worked as a tradie with an estranged son. Where that split happened is the key to understanding Kreese. I think it's telling that the first episode of the series is titled Ace Degenerate. It's the term used for Johnny and clearly meant to describe him in the present day. But that's not who Johnny Lawrence was when we first met him.
Johnny, who you kidding? You're still the Ace Degenerate.
No, ex-degenerate, man. 8 a.m. tomorrow, I'm a senior. I've got 1 year to make it all work. And that's what I'm gonna do. Make it work. All of it, right?
That's right, man.
So why did Johnny go from being the ex-degenerate, getting his life in order, back to the ace degenerate? Now the obvious answer is he lost the 1984 All-Valley Karate Tournament to Daniel LaRusso. The show opened with a flashback to their epic showdown, and as of right now, the top comment on the first episode of the series is, "Who knew losing a karate tournament would ruin your life?" But if we look closely, it wasn't the kick to the face and losing the tournament that sent Johnny back down the degenerate path. It was the loss of his only ever stable father figure. It was his loss of Kreese. Now first, I don't think Johnny remembers it correctly. I suppose you could debate this, but I feel like the opening of the series is not just a recap of Karate Kid, but the tournament from Johnny's point of view. And even more than that, it is an actual flashback from Johnny's memory of the fight. That is, whenever he thinks back to the fight, this is what he sees, complete with the scoring cards. So in the present day, what Johnny remembers after he lost is wallowing on the mat after taking the kick to the face. This is important because that is not what actually happened. What happened is Johnny crawled across the mat, got up, and then did this. So again, who knew losing a karate tournament would ruin your life? Now ask yourself, is this someone whose life was just ruined forever? No, not even close. But on the other hand, you can see how this person's life was just ruined, just lying there in defeat. The problem is, this never happened. Winners get up, losers stay on the mat. Johnny remembers himself as the loser because that's what he was told by the person he trusted the most.
What did you say? I said I did my best.
You're nothing. You lost. You're a loser.
So that was the ending of Johnny and Kreese. And with it, Johnny lost more than the tournament, but the only positive father figure he had. And I do think the show has made clear that despite Kreese's flaws, he was far better for Johnny than the alternative in his home life.
I come home and pretty much get bullied every day.
Look, the kid's a social reject. He doesn't have a single friend. I'll write the goddamn check. I'll make it out to garbage because that's where it's gonna end up.
I'd say get your life in order, but you're like the meat in your fridge.
Kreese was forceful, but he had a good influence.
Then what are you?
I'm a winner, Sensei.
Louder!
I'm a winner!
That's a positive statement and a self-affirmation. The fact that he's struggling to say the words is a reflection of his life with Sid. This is what led Johnny to turning his life around and becoming the ex-degenerate. Without that positive force and somebody pushing him to be better, Johnny reverted back to being the ace degenerate for 30 years. The show told us so in the title for episode 1. For all Kreese's faults, the show makes clear his choking Johnny and breaking the trophy, even for him, was a one-time thing. Despite his flaws, I think his regret at the end of the first episode is genuine, as well as his desire to see Johnny succeed.
I'm sorry. You were young, and I went overboard. You were my best student. I just couldn't stand seeing you lose. For years, I've regretted that night. I understand if you never want to see me again. But just remember, I am the guy who always rooted for you.
A lot of the focus on Kreese in Season 2 is how he slithers into Cobra Kai and starts remaking it in his own original image, from the No Mercy lessons to literally rearranging the office space. But that's the dojo. What was Kreese's impact on Johnny? Kreese again took the role of mentor to Johnny. The topics were different. Johnny doesn't need self-confidence anymore. But there was one area Johnny needed help from a strong outside influence. His son. Twice, Kreese pushed Johnny to reconnect with his son.
You should be training that boy. But of course, the most important student was absent. Your boy.
Now, there's a few different motivations you can give Kreese. You can say he's competitive and doesn't want LaRusso or anyone else to train Robbie. Or you can see him as a military man and it's another duty or honor-bound obligation. But I think there's a better word that encompasses all of that. Fatherhood. Kreese understands the need for Johnny to step in and be a father to his son. Now compare him to the only other person who's mentioned Robbie to him.
How old is Robbie now? 15, 16? When's the last time you saw him?
Notice Sid doesn't even care about Robbie. He only brings him up as a way of criticizing and hurting Johnny. Compare this to Kreese. He's encouraging Johnny to step up and be a father. And despite having never even met him, you see Kreese cares more about Robbie than Sid does.
LaRusso training your son like his own.
Thanks for your concern.
Not sure how you put up with that. So you just teach these lessons. You don't really take them to heart. When's the last time you saw him? Go all in.
And both times it does prompt action in Johnny. The first time is when he takes Miguel to tell him the story of Robbie's birth. This is important because before Johnny can make any healing happen, he needs to come to terms with his own role in Robbie's estrangement. It also builds his bond with Miguel. The second time he realizes how far Robbie has slipped from him.
Daniel's house, he moved in!
He lives with the LaRussos?
It hits him hard. Clearly, a lot has gone bad for Johnny since that fateful night of the All Valley tournament, but I think we can fill in some blanks on what would happen had Kreese not totally lost his cool. What if they had never had that falling out? I think Johnny would have stayed on as an instructor at Cobra Kai. The show makes clear Johnny's life calling was to teach karate. Then, after several years of learning the ins and outs, he would have opened his own dojo. Maybe another Cobra Kai, maybe something of his own. The parallel is with Daniel's business life. He learned the ropes of cars and car sales and then eventually opened his own dealership. However, I think the biggest difference in Johnny's life would have been on February 4th, 2002. You've seen how Kreese pushes Johnny to be with his son now when they only just reunited. Kreese would have never accepted Johnny sitting in a burger joint trying to work off the hangover from a 3-day bender. Working up the courage to cross the street and go up there? Nope, Johnny would have been up in that room, ready for his son to enter the world. Kreese would have made sure of it, but more importantly, it wouldn't have even been an issue. He would have been the ex-degenerate who had his life together. That is the positive influence Kreese had. and that was what Johnny lost when Kreese snapped. So when we compare it to Daniel, we see the positive influence Mr. Miyagi had as a father figure didn't end with the last movie.
Mr. Miyagi, he was so good to us.
The best. I did what Mr. Miyagi taught me to do. I treated people honestly. Looked them in the eye, asked for their trust, and I earned it.
Of course, Kreese had issues, and he wasn't the perfect role model or father figure, but that doesn't discount him from being a net positive. Part of the growing experience is understanding the flaws of those we look up to. Some are bigger than others. Certainly you can imagine your own father and the things he said you just don't agree with, and those times he was wrong. Look, stop and pause the video and write out all the ways your dad did you wrong and all the things you had to relearn because of him. Go ahead, I'll wait. Okay, how was that? Let's wait a few more seconds here. It seems some of you took a lot longer than I expected. Apparently, for some, this channel now doubles as a family therapy session. Anyway, despite his flaws, or even because of them, Kreese is father. Just like Miyagi, he has his role. It's a role that has always been crucial in the Karate Kid story, and this show has only expanded it.
Just remember, I am the guy who always rooted for you.
And I want you to know, no matter what happens, I promise, I'll always be on your side. And I'll always have your best interests at heart.
You remember lesson about balance. Lesson not just karate only. Lesson for whole life.
But the legacies of fatherhood are passed on to more than just the boys.
My point is, Sam, you think the world revolves around one person, but then you meet someone new.
Whole life have a balance.
I know it's hard. It hurts, but everyone goes through this.
It's not a conversation she wants to have, but it's one that helps to hear. Not everyone is as blessed as Sam to have someone sit down and work through her heartbreak and betrayal.
Samantha LaRusso. You know what you did, and now you're gonna pay for it. I'm coming for you, bitch!
Father is discipline. Discipline is self-control. It is with self-control we make it through the most difficult times in our lives. Absent a strong father, then absent self-control, and then, well... The colloquial term is chick with daddy issues. Now look, I made a video on Tori that looked into her parentage, and I don't want to rehash that here, but I do think the show has implied that she was raised without a father. It was a point they had in common. As many have said, the show has succeeded in part by embracing the importance of father and father figures. Not everyone is so lucky to have a Mr. Miyagi or even a John Kreese. Over the years, Miyagi has ascended to legend status. Is it time for Kreese to earn that status too? Is Kreese legend, or do his darker aspects hold him back? Season 2 ends with Kreese back in the villain's role. It's a natural spot for him, and he makes the perfect antagonist. His story is not done, though, so I don't think he's there yet, but I do think he will end Season 3 on a high note, having earned the legend status. And whatever happens, it doesn't take away from the good he's done for Johnny. Like Cobra Kai, the legend never dies. Now, this video was originally going to end with an analysis of Kreese's famous No Mercy credo, but as this was getting longer, I decided to say fuck it and broke it off. It's going to be its own video now. So please subscribe to the channel, as we will be looking into No Mercy next, its concept, its applications, and how it's used in this show. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts below. Check out Gravity Bakery, and I'll see you very soon.
Anyways, until next time, no mercy, bitches.